Hi, I'm Craig Hampson. I'm race engineer for Dale Coyne Racing with Vassar Sullivan's number 18 Sealmaster car, driven by Sebastian Bourdais. Marshall has asked me to talk about some of the aerodynamic changes that they've made on the Speedway car for Indianapolis in 2019. The biggest thing that you'll notice is probably with the front wing. IndyCar and Dallara did some CFD simulations, and they believed that there was aerodynamic separation taking place in the interface between the front wing main plane and the end plate. There used to be a long curved tip on the main plane there, and they believe that by removing that chomp, taking that region out of the main plane, the air will stay more attached, particularly in dirty air, and that the cars will be able to follow closer. So that's become mandated, and all teams must run with that chomp. Now you see here, these are typical wickers or gurney flaps. Those add downforce to the front of the wing so that you can improve the aerodynamic balance. However, we sort of ran out of front wing power last year, particularly with as much rear wing as we were trying to run in the heat of the day. So they've created new pieces that we are allowed to run. These debuted at Pocono last year. They would be called main plane extensions. So instead of that outboard wicker, we have the option of running these inboard extensions. And you can run them on either side of the wing. They can be asymmetric. You might decide to run one on the left or not one on the right. You might decide to run a wicker or an extension. You can also put wickers on top of the extensions. So there's a myriad of combinations that we can do on the front wing. So even with the extensions fitted to the front wing, you still have the option of running gurney flaps or wickers on them. You can run a single small outboard one, or you can switch, and then there is a wider span one, and there's even an additional piece, another step, that makes it even larger. And each of these increases the downforce that is on the front wing that you might need to rebalance the car in traffic or as you add rear downforce. Last year was one of the hottest Indy 500s ever. And we were really lacking for downforce and grip because the hot air is thinner air, and there is less downforce because of that. And there are rules how nose down we can go on the rear wing, and the entire field ran as much rear wing as possible, and it still wasn't enough, and we saw a lot of single car crashes simply because the drivers didn't have enough grip and lost control of the car. A lack of downforce also makes it hard to follow in dirty air. So what IndyCar and Dallara have done is they've developed some wickers or gurney flaps that we are now allowed to use on the rear wing. This would be called a 50% span or 3-hole. It's 3/8 of an inch tall. And this one is a 75% span or 5-hole. These are the two options that we are allowed to use at Indianapolis. They add downforce to the wing. This one adds about 50 pounds of downforce. They do add drag, though, so it's a compromise. You can put this on and you'll have more downforce, but your car will be slower on the straightaway. And I think the selection that teams will make on race day will be dependent upon how hot the weather is.